Okay guys, this is like my 7th attempt to film this video, so hopefully this one will be good. So today I'm going to be doing English language, which is a subject that people either love or they really don't love. But unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on the person that you are or how you're finding it, it's the government requires you to pass it, which I don't think is fair, because I feel like they shouldn't judge your level of English on one exam, well, 2 exams, but it's unfortunate. But I know a lot of people don't know how to revise for it. So, but lots of people last year were asking me, "Oh, Daniela, how do you revise for it?" And I didn't know at the start, but I learned it, and I gave them those tips, and they found it helpful, and I found it helpful. So I decided to do a video to give tips how to revise English language and how to do the best in the exam. It might be a bit long, so what I recommend you do is putting it on 1.5 speed or 1.25 speed. But anyway, let's get into it. So the first thing that I recommend you do is know the exam. Like, ask your teachers what the exam is. Like, if you're doing AQA, like I've done a video outlining the exam, but do a bit more research. Like, look up AQA or OCR or EdXL or the example that you're doing, and then English language, and then look at how the exam is structured. Look at the specification. Another good thing that I recommend doing is also getting past papers, and also going through the mark scheme, because what you're lucky is that for English language, you what's it called? There's only about 10 questions throughout the whole exam, which is good, and they're usually the same. They're like the same structure, so if you learn the mark scheme inside out, then that's really good, because then you'll know what the examiners want, and you'll be able to put that in the exam. So I recommend you go do that. So if you look up AQA, English language, and then you can look at the specimen papers, and you can look at the specimen mark scheme, then go through it, and if you don't understand it, go to your teacher and ask, "Hey, can you help me decipher it?" And what you could do if you wanted to, this is sort of what I did. I'd make flashcards of for example, this is not the one, but I'd say, okay, how to do the best in paper 1 question 2, and then I'd write down all the things. Another thing that I recommend is tying in with the specimen papers is practice a lot. Like, practice makes perfect. Well, maybe not perfect, but the more you practice, the more better it will do, and then in the exam, the better that you do. So a lot of people recommend practice papers, so your teachers can make you some. Maybe you can use the past papers, because now there's 3 sets. I don't know, because it's quite new, but yeah, there's 3 sets. There's also the specimen papers, there's the CGP papers, and also what I recommend is doing a whole past paper. It takes a long time, but if you want to just do quick little exercises that will take you about 20-30 minutes, like if you just want to, so then you can just do a little bit every day, or maybe not every day, but like a couple of times a week. I recommend I'm sorry, no, wrong book. I recommend this book because I used it a lot, and it saved my life, honestly, because not only does it have small questions like asking you about techniques, but it also has so, for example, here, oh wow, this is the same page that I went on in my previous attempt, Karma, or not Karma, but anyway. So it has a text, and then it says how does the writer use descriptive language to show contrast in this extract? And then it says, and then there's another question, and it says the writer of this extract used descriptive language very successfully. The reader really feels what they like they're at a party with Howard. To what extent do you agree with the statement? Which is really good, because they're sort of like smaller questions, but they're really similar questions to what you get in the exam. So then, if you practice writing those again and again, and also they have the answers back, and possible things that you can include, and if you want, you can get your teachers to mark it. That is really good, because it gets you prepared. That's what I did, and it really helped. Like, I was doing that before mocks and before actual GCSE exams, and that really helped, I promise. Another 2 good books to practice are these 2. They're £2 each. They're the Snap revisions. They also have them for maths and science and for English literature. The ones for English literature, they were amazing, but I'll do another video on that soon. But these ones and these books and the CGP papers, for when you get there, these are amazing practice. I'll link them down below. There's also the complete revision guide that I recommend. So I'll just link down the CGP guide. I'll just link down the CGP guide down below, though you could get them from Amazon. So maybe I'll do both. But anyway, so the main thing that I did for English language GCSE was I learned the definitions. So alliteration, alliteration, similes, metaphors, they were basic things, but I went through the back of this book, which was a lifesaver as well. And at the back, they have, at the end, they have definitions of many techniques like cinematic writing, inversion, limited narrator, linear structure. I made those into flashcards, I learned them, and then in the exam, I could recognize techniques more. That is really helpful. I really recommend that. So go through the back of this. Maybe not learn all of them because that might have to be too much, but maybe try and learn like one a week and make them into flashcards. So then when it gets too close to the exam, as well as doing practice questions, you could also go through your techniques, as well as, for example, on the bus to the actual exam or something, you could revise them on the way. And that is really helpful. And also on the subject of this book is amazing. Like, not only does it give you tips on the writer's purpose, the audience, it also, and structure and lots of other things. At the back, they have graded answers, so they have for each question. And so, for example, on here, there's graded answer to question 5. Then they have what would make this a 4 to 5 grade answer, 6 to 7, and 8 to 9 answer. So not only do you see, so for example, if you went on the 6 to 7, you say, okay, so they include this one, but they don't include this one. So what I did just before the exam, like a week or two before the exam, I go through them, I see, okay, they're including this, and I wouldn't follow specifically the structure, but I'd see what they're doing. So I say, okay, they're doing this, and they're expanding on this. And this is really important, like, if your teacher goes through, like, top mark answers, or Mr. Bruffy always goes through top mark answers, learn what they're doing, like, learn all the techniques they're doing, like, if they're including effect on audience, or if they're including a counter argument or something, or learn what they're doing, learn what you can do to get as many marks as you can. That's what I did, like, as well as having my small flashcards, which is saying techniques, there I also did flashcards on questions individually. This isn't one, but for example, it's one of them that I can't find says how to get top marks for question 1, paper 1, question 4. That was really useful, because then when I got to the question, I thought, okay, what do I need to include in this answer to get to top marks? And that was really helpful. I know I keep saying that was really helpful a lot, but that's what I found helpful for me. Also, and in addition to learning the definitions, if you want to get those top grades, especially, this is mainly A-level, but GCSE will be really good. Don't only learn the definitions, but also maybe perhaps to, in the book or in online, or ask your teacher, learn why it is effective. So for example, I asked my teacher why exclamation marks were effective. So in the exam, not only can you identify them, well, obviously, but you can also explain why they're effective. Like, my teacher told me that exclamation marks were effective because not only do they add power, but they also make the reader wonder why there is an exclamation mark. For example, on one flashcard, I have what are motifs, which is a technique, which is a recurring image in a text. But on another flashcards, I say what the intensifiers do, and it says they make this text seem powerful and emotive, and they put emphasis on the words. So you could write there in the exam. You could say the use of intensifiers makes this seem powerful, and that will really impress your examiner, because the examiner wants to give you marks. And that ties nicely into my next point. If you want to do full long-term revision, whether you're in year 10, year 11, or even year 12 or 13, two things that you can do. One, expand your vocabulary, like, because not only will you be able to recognize more words in text, but you'll also be able to use more words, perhaps, especially in the creative writing and the persuasive questions. And that will not only impress your examiner, but also improve your range of language and punctuation. And it will also, how do I explain it? If you're reading a text in class, or if you're reading a book, or if you just come across a word that you don't know, learn the definition, and you could maybe test yourself, or you could put it on a post-it note, or put it around the house, or you could make flashcards. Like, I don't have to. Oh wait, yes I do. For A level, I wanted to expand my vocabulary. So if I see a word I don't know, like this one says instigate, I'd write down the definition on the other side, and not yet, but I'm gonna start learning them. And yes, I know I keep banging on about flashcards, but in my opinion, they're the best way to revise. I know everyone revises differently, but I think because flashcards, not only do you practice writing down the information, but you also test yourself. But anyway, and the second thing that I recommend doing, as well as expanding vocabulary, is reading more, because not only does it make you smarter, like I know teachers always say that, but it's true, but also it makes you more experienced, and also you could, if you wanted to, reference other books in your answers, but ask your teachers about that, because I'm not 100% sure. But what it helps is that you can always revise and practice, if you get what I mean. Like, for example, when I was reading books, I'd say a word or a technique, and I think the use of this technique illustrates how to write a blah blah blah. Like, obviously you don't need to write like a 5-page essay on one paragraph, but like in your head, if you do it every once in a while, it just keeps you in the right frame of mind, and just keeps you practicing, and which is really useful, because the more you practice, the better you'll be. Another thing that I really recommend is spelling, punctuation, grammar. Like, it's worth 20% of the it's worth 20% of the marks in English language, and it's also worth 5% of the marks in history, geography, and English literature, and RS and something else. But yeah, so it's really like, it's like, obviously don't lose sleep over it, but it's like quite important. So if you spell a word wrong, or if you don't know how to use that technique, you can ask, or you can also during the wait, no, wrong book. Oh, here it is, sorry. You could also use this book, or you could use another book. This was the CGP Spelling, Punctuation, Grammar book, revision book. So this really helped me. I used it in the summer between year 10 and year 11. I should have done a bit more work, but oh well. And it really helped me, because not only could I expand my vocabulary and my punctuation, which would really impress the examiner, especially for the section Bs, but it was also I don't know, it just made me more confident in writing, if you get what I mean. Like, because sometimes, especially in other languages, I think, oh, I really want to write this word, but I don't want to misspell it, so then I write a simpler word, if you get me. Just don't go overboard. Like, my old teacher always used to tell me about how you should not go overboard because with too many like fancy words, if you get me. Let me just check if there's anything I can do. So oh yeah, so a few more tips. One, learn your persuasive techniques. Just learn your persuasive techniques. And two, consider your time periods. Like, because you're gonna get 3 texts. You're gonna get one from the 21st century, one from the 20th century, and one from the 19th century. And if you have to compare them or analyze them, you should always write down, not write down, but you'll know what time periods are from. You should always reference us. So, for example, you could say, although the mother in this text is really strict towards her children, in the 19th century it was more common to be strict, whereas now parents are seen as more relaxed. I don't know, this is, I think, last year's mock exam, but I don't know. And also another thing that you need to remember is, when you're analysing, think, okay, what can I deduct from this? Like, if you see a question, you think, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. You need to think, okay, what do I see? What techniques do I see? And then think of your own interpretation, like, how does this impact, like, think to yourself, how does this impact me? Like, what do I think of it? Like, what is my own interpretation of it? And let me just check if there's any more tips. Sorry, I wrote them down. Okay, one, so practice writing speeches, practice writing stories, and practice writing practice questions. And also, what's it called? One more site that two more resources I'm gonna recommend. One, Mr. Bruff. Like, his videos are amazing. Like, I'd go through his step by questions, and I'd always write them down. I make them to flashcards, and then I'd revise them. So near to the exam, I could just revise them, and then when I got into the actual exam, I'd know exactly what to write. And also, whenever a teacher does a good tip, like, oh, you could include this, you couldn't do this, write it down, because you never know, you could use it. Like, that's what I did. Every tip I got, like, well, not every tip, but every tip that I got that I thought would be useful, I wrote it down. As well as, I also did this for English literature, and it really helped. And, so Mr. Bruff's really good. And one last thing, this guide is really good, especially for speeches and story writing. And I used it a lot, especially in year 9 before GCSEs. Well, they had started, but not that much. And I think that's it. Oh wait, no, just one more thing. The main thing that Mr. Bruff has taught me is to always think why. So, if the writer uses this technique, why does he do it? What is the effect? Like, always think why. Like, I mean, don't over simplify yourself. Don't think he does this because, but try to always explain. Like, if you notice things, like, that's good, but to get even better marks and thus better grades, you always need to explain why. And that's it. I'm really sorry that I stuttered a lot. Like, public speaking, well, even though this is not public speaking, speaking in general is just difficult for me. But I hope this has been helpful. I might do more in-depth ones, because I think I've missed out a lot of information, but or tips, but I'm really busy right now. I'm really busy at the moment, and I'll probably get even busier as time goes on, because A-levels are horrible. So yeah, thanks guys, and if you have English literature or language or both mock, good luck. If you don't, well, hooray. And yeah, I'll see you next time. I don't know what my next video is going to be, but yeah, see ya.